Hi, everyone. Welcome to day 4 of the 28-day challenge. My name is Caroline Park, and I'm one of the yoga instructors at Yoga Nisa Spirit and Wellness Center. And today I'm going to take you through a flow. It's going to work on opening the chest, opening the hamstrings, and just opening the body in general. So you can meet me on your mat in a child's pose. Going to set up the music here. So from your child's pose, start to sink into the mat. Resting both knees, tops of the feet onto the mat, dropping the forehead as you reach your fingertips out in front of you. You can have your knees further apart if that's more comfortable for you, letting your belly fall in between the legs. Or if you prefer to have the knees close together, touching, that's okay as well. That's really good for getting some relief in the low back. Wherever you are, really reaching those fingertips and planting the palms on the mat in front of you. Inhaling through the nose. And exhale, side out through the mouth. Noticing the sensations in the body. Noticing the quality of your breath at the beginning of this practice. Letting go of your day. Letting go of any thoughts that don't serve you today in this practice. And slowly bringing the fingertips onto the mat and pushing yourself up to seated on the knees. If this isn't comfortable for you, you can always come into a cross-legged position with your sit bones on the mat. But wherever you are, knees or sit bones, inhaling, reaching the arms up. And exhale, hands to heart center. One more again. Inhale, reaching up to the sides this time. And exhale, hands to heart center. Slowly interlacing the fingers behind the back. Opening up the chest as you reach the knuckles towards the ground. Gazing up. And exhale, slowly bowing the head down. Forehead touches the mat. Inhaling back up. And exhale, bringing that fist over to the right hip. And gently tilting the head towards the right, feeling that opening on the left side of the neck in the trap, the sternocleidomastoid muscle there. You can draw gentle semicircles here, opening up that left neck. And just be gentle here. There's a lot of vessels, muscles, and we often hold a lot of our tension in our necks. And inhale back to center. Opening up the chest. And exhale, bringing the fist towards the left hip. And leaning or tilting that head towards the left side. And starting to draw those semicircles. Noticing the sensation in different parts of your right neck as you draw those semicircles. Again, being gentle here, releasing any tension that you have in your neck. Inhaling back to center. And exhale, release the fingers, slowly coming into your first downward facing dog, tucking the toes under, lifting the hips up and back into your first downward facing dog. Pedaling out the heels here, bending one knee and then the other. I know it's just the beginning of the practice, so if you feel that your hamstrings are tight, we're going to slowly ease into this downward facing dog, swaying the hips from side to side. As you sway the hips, starting to find some stillness, reaching those heels of the feet towards the mat, ensuring that there's a long line of energy all the way from the wrists to the tops of the sit bones. Breathing here in stillness in your downward facing dog. And on the next exhale, slowly bending the knees to hover over the mat, not touching the mat. Holding here, strengthen and fire up that core. And exhale, lifting the hips back up, downward facing dog. We're gonna come through that sequence one more time. Inhale, dropping the knees but not touching the mat. And holding here, fire up the core. You can look between the head, your hands, or you can stare at your navel. And exhale, lifting the hips back up, downward facing dog. Inhale into plank. And holding this plank. And exhale, lifting the hips up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale, rolling into plank. Really use that spine. And holding here, strong core. If you need any assistance, you can always come into modified plank pose, knees on the ground. Wherever you are, holding for one more breath. And exhale, slowly lifting back up, downward facing dog. From this down dog, we're gonna slowly bend the knees, jump or step the feet to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift, hands to shins, flat back. And exhale, grabbing onto the backs of the ankles in your forward fold. Keeping a nice bend in that hip crease, trying not to bend with a low back, but bending at the hips. Breathing here. Inhale, halfway lift again, flat back. And exhale, sinking deeper, grabbing a hold of the backs of those ankles. And this doesn't have to look any particular way. Some of us have a lot more open hamstrings and you can straighten the legs all the way. Others, you might have a fairly deep bend in the knees. Just accepting where your body is at. Pushing to your limit, but not beyond. Avoiding any injuries here. And on the next inhale, halfway lift, flat back. And exhale, planting the palms to the mat. Inhale, arms reach up overhead. Palms touch. And exhale, hands to heart center. Down by the sides, mountain pose. Inhale, arms reach up overhead. And exhale, reaching fingertips towards the mat. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. And exhale, planting the palms, stepping the feet back, coming through your version of chaturanga, knees up or down. Exhale, bend the elbows to 90 degrees. Inhale, upward facing dog or cobra. Really relaxing the shoulders, rolling the shoulders back here in your up dog. And exhale, lifting the hips up and back as you roll over onto the feet. Downward facing dog. Breathing here in this down dog. Inhale, bend the knees. Step or hop your way to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. Exhale, palms to the mat. folding or over. Inhale, arms reach up, palms touch. And exhale, hands to heart center, down by the sides. Breathing here, taking a couple deep breaths in your mountain pose. Inhale, arms reach up overhead. Exhale, swan dive forward, palms to the mat. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. And exhale, stepping both feet back, plank pose. From your plank pose, we're gonna hold for 2 breaths. Throughout your practice, always remembering to continue to breathe through the poses. A lot of the times we tend to hold our breaths, but we need to keep breathing, keep letting oxygen in to feed those muscles. And on the next exhale, slowly lowering, shifting the wrists over the palm, or the elbows over the wrists, and bending 90 degrees all the way so that the chest and the front body is on the mat. We're gonna reach our fingertips forward and reach our toes back, pointing the toes. Inhale, lift all 4 limbs. Superman. And exhale, lower. Lifting right fingertips, left toes, half Superman. And exhale, lower. Lifting left fingertips, right toes. And exhale, lower. And alternating here. Right fingertips, left toes. Inhale. Exhale, lower. Inhale, left fingertips, right toes. And exhale, lower. Again, inhale, all 4 limbs. And exhale, reaching behind as you bend the knees, grabbing onto either toes or the tops of the feet or the ankles. And inhale. We're lifting up as you push the feet against your hands. Continuing to breathe here in bow pose. You can start to rock a little bit if that feels good. And exhale, slowly lowering back down. Interlacing the fingers in front of you, dropping the forehead onto the palms. Toes point inwards, crocodile pose for 2 breaths. And slowly meeting back in your downward facing dog, lifting the hips up, pedaling out those heels, and settling back into this pose. On the next inhale, rolling onto the balls of the feet, bend the knees, step or jump your way to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back, and exhale, fold. Inhale once more, halfway lift, flat back, and exhale as you sweep and reach those arms ahead in front of you. Utkatasana, chair pose. You can gaze forward, gaze in between those palms. If you can really lift those hands, you can do so. If that's too much for your shoulders, trying to relax the shoulders, you can reach your palms forward. Alternatively, hands to heart center, wherever you are. Holding, take a peek down, make sure you can see all 10 toes. Knees are trying to stack over those ankles rather than being forward. Holding for 3, 2, and 1, folding back forward. Inhale, halfway lift, and exhale, forward fold, grabbing onto the backs of those ankles, feeling the opening of those hamstrings. We're going to come back into that Utkatasana. On the next inhale, halfway lift, and exhale, sweeping the hands forward into your Utkatasana pose, bringing the hands to heart center, bringing that left elbow onto the right of that, onto the thigh of the right leg, and holding here in this side chair twist, and slowly lifting the toes of that left foot, shifting weight onto that right foot. So it'll be a bit challenging here. And if you so dare, you can start to reach back, float that foot back, and come into your side angle. If you need some support, you can always drop those left fingertips or the entire palm, reaching right fingertips up towards the sky. If you want to stay in your side angle twist, making sure your palms are in the center of the chest, opening up the chest, opening up the body towards that right side. Wherever you are, breathing here for 2 and 1, slowly bringing both palms towards the mat, stepping that right foot back, plank, and exhale, coming through your version of chaturanga. Exhale, inhale, up dog or cobra, and exhale, meeting back in your downward facing dog. Noticing how your body feels right now. And letting your body feel whatever it feels. Noticing the breath. Noticing your heart beating in its chest. On the next inhale, rolling onto the balls of the feet, bending the knees, stepping the feet forward in between the palms. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. And exhale, grabbing onto the backs of those ankles. You can reach towards opposite elbows if that feels good. Behind the knees, or reach and hold on to opposite elbows in front. And swaying from side to side. You can move the feet hip distance apart if that feels better. A little resting pose here, bending at the hip. And trying to find some stillness. We're going to bring the big toes together, heels slightly apart. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. And exhale, fold. Inhale, sweeping those arms forward. Utkatasana chair pose. Take a peek at all 10 toes. Make sure you can see them. And holding in this pose for 2. And 1. Folding forward here. Palms to the mat. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. And exhale, grabbing opposite elbows behind the legs or in front. We're going to come into Utkatasana and twisting onto the other side. On the next inhale, lifting halfway. And exhale, planting the palms on the mat. Inhale, arms sweep up, Utkatasana chair, hands to heart center. And slowly bringing that right elbow over top that left knee. And slowly bringing the palms, prayer to heart center. So you're really twisting rather than having the hands hang out by the left armpit. We're trying to slowly shift it towards the center of the chest. And starting to shift weight onto that left foot. We're going to start to lift those right toes. Just practicing lifting it here gently as you slowly float right fingertips back. We're going to come into a side angle pose. And you can stay here, or you can have your right fingertips reach down for assistance, lifting left fingertips up towards the sky. Breathing here in this side angle pose. Wherever you are, hands to heart center, or right hand supporting this pose, continuing to breathe for 1 more breath. And exhale, planting both palms in front of you, stepping that left back, and coming into your version of chaturanga, knees up or down. Inhale, upward facing dog or cobra. And exhale, lifting the hips up and back, downward facing dog. And coming into a brief rest pose here, child's pose. We'll take an alternative variation here, so knees together, sweeping and planting both the backs of both hands by the feet, getting some relief in the shoulders and low back. Noticing the breath. Noticing your heart beating in your chest. Staying here for a couple more seconds. And one more breath here. And exhale, side out. And slowly meeting back in your downward facing dog. And from this down dog, we're going to slowly bend the knees, rolling onto the balls of the feet, stepping forward and coming onto your sit bones. Reaching and extending the legs in front of you as you reach up with those arms. And exhale, folding forward. Seated forward fold, you can bend the knees a little bit. If you have tighter hamstrings, the goal is to bend at the hip rather than the low back here. And holding this pose, getting some opening in the backs of those legs. Breathing here in Dandasana. Slowing down the breath. With every inhale, lengthening the spine. And every exhale, sinking deeper into those hamstrings and calves. And slowly starting to sit back up, reaching palms in front of you, and lowering slowly vertebrae by vertebrae onto your back. And once you're there, tucking that right knee in, interlacing fingers in front of that right calf. We're going to bring that right knee over towards the left, reaching right hand, right fingertips over towards the right, gazing towards or over that right shoulder. Spinal twist. Opening that right hip, trying to reach that right shoulder blade towards the mat. With every inhale, sinking deeper into that twist. For every exhale. Inhale back to center, switching sides, tucking in that left leg, interlacing fingers in front of that left shin, and bringing that right knee over towards, or left knee over towards the right, extending left fingertips out towards the left, gaze over the left shoulder. Eyes can be closed if you wish. Feeling that opening in that left outer hip as you sink that left shoulder blade towards the mat. Inhale back to center. And just a couple rocks, knees tucked in, massaging that low back. You can start drawing little circles on the sacrum. That always feels really great. And slowly coming into your final resting pose, Savasana. Legs can be extended, You can be in butterfly legs if that suits you today. Wherever you are, letting go completely. Letting go of any thoughts that are trying to crop in during your practice that don't serve you. And just noticing these thoughts and letting them pass like leaves in the wind. Starting to relax the face, relax the body, releasing tension in the shoulders, the forehead, space between the brows. Feeling your body sink into the earth. And resting here in your Savasana. Slowly, if you would like to join me, you can always stay longer in your rest pose, Savasana. Slowly waking up the body, moving those fingertips, wrists, toes, and ankles. Slowly starting to bring life back into the body. Inhale, reaching arms up overhead, pointing the toes. Big stretch. And exhale, let it go. In whichever way feels best in your body. Coming back up to a seated position, cross-legged in front of the mat or facing towards the front of the mat. And start center. And slowly blinking open the eyes. Thanking yourself for joining me in this practice. Thank you all for joining me in this practice and devoting your time, your energy to carry this practice out with me today. Thanking your body for carrying you through each of those poses. A lot of them were really tough. And thanking yourself for giving yourself this time and space for your own mental health and well-being. Namaste. Thanks everyone for joining me. Have a great rest of your day.